Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 221. Every great film should seem new every time you see it. Roger Ebert.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my Indie Film Hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's episode is brought to you by Blackbox. Blackbox is a new platform and community that is all about financial freedom for filmmakers like you. If you join Blackbox, you will be transformed from being a worker to being a maker of your own content. And you'll be making steady passive income from the global market. Blackbox currently allows you to upload your stock footage once, get it to many global agencies, and then allows you to share that passive income stream with your collaborators. Whether you want to submit old footage that's been sitting around in your hard drives or create brand new content, Blackbox is for you. It's really quite revolutionary. With Blackbox, filmmakers can concentrate on making great content while Blackbox takes care of all the business BS. Just visit www.blackbox.global to find out more. Today's show is also sponsored by AmazingMusicTracks.com. Amazing Music Tracks is an online licensing platform that offers production music created by award-winning Hollywood film composers. Their composers are responsible for music behind feature film hits like Easy A and Legion, trailers including Guardians of the Galaxy and The Hobbit, and much more. What's awesome about this service is that you only pay a one-time fee and you can use the music on unlimited film projects in perpetuity. Over the next couple weeks, AmazingMusicTracks.com is offering a subscription model that can receive up to 70% off each music track. Trust me, if you do a lot of film production, you should definitely take advantage of this opportunity. So head over to AmazingMusicTracks.com. So today on the show, we have returning champion Shaked Berenson from Epic Pictures. I had a chance to sit down with him at Sundance and discuss the ever-changing landscape of marketing and finding an audience for your indie film. Through Epic Pictures, they are an independent film production company, and they put out indie films constantly, and they're always looking for new ways to find that audience and engage with that audience. And we talk a lot about what he's doing over with Epic Pictures, with their new acquisition, DreadCentral.com, and how to find that audience and connect with them to hopefully give them the product that they are looking for. Now, this episode is the last of the Sundance special episodes. Next week, we start back on our regularly scheduled program. I still will only be doing one new one a week for the next week or two because my top secret project is almost done. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait to share it with you guys. I am so excited. I really think it's going to be transformative for the entire Indie Film Hustle tribe on what this project is. So I know I've been building it up a lot over the course of the last few weeks, but hopefully it will hold up to the scrutiny when I finally mention and release the information about it. And once you hear it, you'll understand why February and parts of March were so difficult for me to get anything out. But I'm still getting these podcasts out for you guys because I know how important they are to you. So without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Shaked Berenson. Welcome, guys. I'd like to bring back to the show Shaked Berenson. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you for inviting me.
We are doing our Sundance yearly tour.
Very exciting.
Yes. How has it been so far?
It's been a lot of drinking, slow drinking. I think the difference between Sundance and a lot of the other festivals that there are a lot of work and then heavy drinking in the end of the day. Mm-hmm. While Sundance is kind of waking up and slow drinking throughout the day.
And less alcohol because of the altitude.
It's less alcohol, yeah. It's more about the
long term.
It's a long tail. It's a long tail.
It's not short term game.
Exactly.
So can you tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, your last podcast episode was extremely popular. A lot of people downloaded it and really loved the information you gave. So that's why I wanted to bring you back, because I know you've been doing a lot of exciting things with Epic. So what is new with Epic Pictures since last time you were on the show?
Yeah, so last time we spoke about TurboKid, which premiered here 2 years ago? Time fly by. 2 years ago? 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago.
Something like that.
And we spoke about how at Epic we build a system that we do everything from the development, the financing, the physical production. We do foreign sales, obviously, which is attached to the financing, and then also U.S. distribution. Since then, we we were in the process, and we finished acquiring a piece of Dread Central Media, which is an online publisher. Obviously, the guys, the co-founders, Steve Barton and John Condit.
Yes.
And what's interesting that it kind of gave us the last mile in that marathon, because it allows us to really touch the audience. So, which for me, it's very interesting and exciting.
So so basically, when you talk about marketing and audience building, you guys purchased an audience, access to that audience, so you can start building and using it as building it.
Yeah, it's several things. It's well, first of all, as a company that releases a lot of horror movies and cult movies, Dread Central has been always great to us and writing about our movies, and we've actually been buying at space.
Hold on a second.
What is that? I thought we were all in one big microwave, and
we're slowly being cooked.
And now we're waiting for some giant to open it up and touch us, oh, you're still soft. Put back in, and
All right, so pick it up from where you were.
Where were we?
I don't even remember what we were talking about. We were. Huh? No. Dread Central, building an audience.
Oh, so as Dread Central, it's one of the top hops for horror fans for any horror thing. It's games and music and tattoos and
Epic releases a lot of horror.
And with Epic Epic releases a lot of films. We make a lot of films, and we really kind of became known in the horror genre and the family genre. Sorry, my head. I'm thinking
it's actually Sundance.
So yeah, no, it has nothing to do with it, because actually, it's all started 2 years before that.
Okay,
should we go back?
Go for it.
So it's really started when I was workshopping. I'm sorry, I'm literally as we talk, I'm thinking about it, that actually the seeds for all of this were many years ago.
Okay.
So 2 years ago, I was workshopping at UCLA two things. One was a business plan that I put together to kind of disrupt a little bit the theatrical business, the way it's done. I mean, we all know, there's MoviePass and, all sorts of things that, try to change the theatrical business and try to figure out how to bring more people to the cinemas and how to monetize it better. The other thing that we did was, because our company makes movies of all sorts. So the year that we had Turbo Kid here, we actually had a movie called Entertainment, which is an experimental art house drama, dark drama, comedy kind of thing. But people really know us for The Biggest Spiders, The Tales of Halloween, the Turbo Kid. They really know us as genre, or the family slate. We have a successful family slate. So a part of what I was workshopping at UCLA was our branding, and a part of what came out from that research was that we probably should start a horror label and put all the horror stuff under that label, because the imagery, the marketing, it's very dominant.
Very much so.
So if you go on somebody's website and they have 2 horror posters, 2 family, 2 thrillers, and 2 documentaries, the horror stuff just gonna take over it, which is nothing wrong with it. And we love the horror audience because they're very loyal and they're very vocal. And obviously it's a big part of who we are and what we do. And the recommendation was to start putting things into boxes as we grow under Epic Family, Epic Horror of some sort, or make up some name. And then in the end of 2016, when the opportunity came up to buy Dread Central, it makes a lot of sense, because Dread Central was a site that we went to. It's our go-to place for everything horror. And it's a brand that's already known in the horror. Right? And they were kind of in a trouble, in a bad spot toward the end of the year. And it was a good opportunity to come, help them, because they've been great to us. And then also use Dread Central to start what we launched earlier this year, which called Dread Central Presents, which is basically going to take all of our library of everything horror, and we're going to release more horror movies using the Epic distribution channels, but curated by the Dread Central reviewers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then, by using Dread Central Presents as a brand, you basically purchased not only an audience, but the brand name that is so recognizable within the audience that you're going after.
Yeah. And so instead of starting Epic Midnight or whatever,
Right.
come up with something like that, and then start from
Trying
scratch.
building it, right?
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
But for us, it's more than that because we make 4 to 6 movies a year.
Mm-hmm.
And not all of them, many of them are genre, but not all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So having the Dread Center Presents label gave us this space that we can also pick up other people's movies, because we very rarely would buy movies. We would go to Sundance or South by Southwest. We watch the movies. Very rarely we actually go in and purchase one for distribution.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we kind of have that room that we can say, yes, you know what Epic is, you know what Dread is, there is some crossover, but Dread can pick up their own movies, release their own film.
Mm-hmm.
It gave us that room, and because we built the US distribution side, and just to release 4 to 6 movies a year, kind of leaves a lot of that unused.
Of course.
So it gave them a lot more work to do that.
Nice.
So
And then,
it was really exercises as using our resources and networking and the things that we built to add more value to that audience as well.
and how many now are you going to be able to open? Because obviously you'll be able to acquire more.
So the idea is, and this is where my other plan came in, we're releasing 12 movies a year in theaters.
Okay.
And the way we work it's almost like a book club. So instead of trying to sell every movie on its own, we're creating this communities in different cities that we're screening every month. It's a 1 night or 2 night screening. And like a book club, like you come to all of them and you can purchase the tickets for all of them. And they're curated by Dread Central and they're hosted by Dread Central writers. So our writers are spread all over the States.
Right.
And they have their own little, local communities. And the idea is to build those communities around a specific theater. And our first release is actually next week.
So that's very interesting, though. So because theatrical is very difficult to make money with in general, especially in today's world, because you need a lot of P&A, a lot of marketing to get asses and seats, as they say.
Yeah.
So this is a very interesting model that you're using. So it's going to be 1 night only, and you're going to do like series of it. Like, so if it's one movie, you only can watch 1 night, kind of like a Phantom Events kind of thing?
Yeah, so, IFC Midnight also have kind of, the previous screenings. Sure. It's not, we're not like inventing something,
Sure.
But the difference, I think, with what we're trying to do is that we realize that, first of all, tickets to the cinema are expensive. And it's really hard to get somebody to, pay $12 or $13 for a ticket, depends on the city. It's a lot easier to get people to buy 2 beers for that price.
Right.
So if we make it as an event and we have our screenings are hosted by a horror expert, and then everybody goes downstairs to the bar or the bar next door and can discuss it and have a horror trivia. We're planning to do a lot of talent connect via Skype. We have a lot of giveaways. I believe that in all 3 first screenings, everybody's getting a mini posters when they're coming in, and some of them are also signed by the filmmakers.
Right.
So it's a lot more kind of making it as an event, and as a label, it is all horror, but it's the idea is to be very diverse. So the first movie that we're releasing is called Zombieology, Enjoy Yourself Tonight, which is a Cantonese-speaking crazy film from Hong Kong, and we're releasing it as a double feature with Turbo Kid, which is celebrating 2 years for its first release.
Nice.
Then in February, releasing The Lodgers, having previous screening on February 15, a week before it's actually coming out in theaters. So we're letting our community to kind of have the first tip seeing The Lodgers, and then in March we're taking a complete 90-degree turn and have a very, very gory slasher called Terrifier.
So it seems like before, just to be an independent, company like yourself, to make any money in the theaters is very difficult. So the model that you're using, before you used to just be able to use the movie.
Yeah.
Now you've got to make a show.
Yes.
To get those asses in seats, and I think that's what you're doing. And obviously, it's working financially for you, and as a model to do that. And now, do you use those screenings as a launching pad for digital releases as well?
Yeah, exactly. So for us, it's not really about making revenue from those screenings.
They're like a loss leader?
I wouldn't say it's a loss leader.
Okay.
The plan is to at least break even, but any money that generated from those screenings actually goes back into that community.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're talking about creating events locally, or prizes, or basically, having beer being part of the ticket, or just reducing the price of the ticket, the idea is that those community kind of going to be like their own little clubs, horror clubs in every city.
So again, what you're doing is just really massaging your audience and building that audience and being very loyal to that audience, so you can kind of funnel through content to the audience that the audience is waiting for.
Yeah, and the idea is to get them what they like, and hopefully they will be talking about it with their friends and their social media.
Now, so you bring up social media. How are you using social media marketing with your company and with the new Dread Central, other than content marketing that you obviously can do through Dread Central's main website? But are you using social media? I'm assuming you're not putting billboards up. I'm assuming you're not buying full page ads.
I shouldn't.
I'm just saying. I'm sure you're not putting in the yellow pages your number for your company. So what are you doing as far as marketing in that?
So a lot of what we're doing is actually stemming from a model that is first written in this book called Crossing the Chasm. I don't know if we ever spoke about that. It's a book that I'm going to try to summarize in a nutshell. Sure. But it talks about how integrating technology into the market. So it's somebody that, I forgot the name of the author, but he's talking about like how to get, the Toyota Prius into the market, or, a new iPhone. It's not really about something like content, which unfortunately for us kind of a commodity.
Very much so.
But a lot of what he talks about is how the product go through this journey from early adopters to from innovators to early adopters to the early majority, late majority, and then the laggards, right? Now, most of the independent films do not go beyond the innovators and the early adopters. This, for example, just to know what they are, like we're talking about like the people that will like stay overnight outside the Apple store to get the first phone,
right.
Or the ones that
early adopters,
But when I tried to look at those models and try to learn, like, okay, so what does it mean for me as a film producer, as a distributor? From what I'm seeing, the people that go and read Dread Central or Blood Disgusting or any one of our competitors / we love all of them too.
Sure, of course.
They are really the early adopters and the innovators in comparison to the people that read I don't know, Wired magazine or I forgot what's the name of the Apple one.
iOS magazine.
Yeah, maybe you can put it down here. And then the way to get into the early majority is really to capture some sort of niche market that can help you break into that.
Sure.
So really kind of that's taking that model and try to apply it to what we do.
You're definitely not going after a broad audience like one of the big studios.
Absolutely not.
You're niching down.
I'm niching down.
And you're putting your bet on those niches because, as they say, riches are in the niches.
Yeah.
In many ways, and you're focusing like we do this well. This is what we're known for, and we're going to keep going down these roads as opposed to trying to go out and do action now or dramas or other big.
Well, we do that on the other side of Epic, but in the past, I want to say a year, if not even 13 months, I've been focusing on the Dread Central acquisition, turning around some of the businesses that, like with Dread Central, they have a podcast network, and the Box of Dread, which is a monthly subscription box that has horror memorabilia in it.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's beautiful.
So I've been really working on that, and then on the Dread Central Presents label, what it is, hiring the right people to manage it, acquiring the first few movies to do that.
And how do you acquire movies? What's the process of acquiring a movie?
So that's the beauty of it. It started where we basically set up a system that if the reviewers of Dread Central, if 2 or more like the film and nobody is like really hating the film, then it will pass to the Epic side to reach out and, attempt to acquire the film.
Interesting.
Distribution. So I've been managing this with like a big grid with like all these people that, putting thumbs up and thumbs down and all of those. At some point I said like, okay, well, I need to bring somebody to do that. And the opportunity came that I brought Rob Galloso from, he was in Blumhouse.com. Before I was in Fangoria.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
He knows, I'll admit it, knows about horror movies 1,000 times more than me,
Okay.
which means that he can speak that language with all of those reviewers better, can streamline all of that. And he came from the publishing world, completely new thing for him. So at the beginning, there was a lot of being on the same, phone calls and catching up with all that, with all of this, which he did an incredible job and caught up really, really quickly. And, even before I planned it in, my own timeline, he was like, being on the phone with the theater, the thing, and closing those things himself. And, it was really great for me so I can put my attention other places. So the process is email Rob, don't email me.
So you have...
Our time is up, ladies
Our
and gentlemen.
time's up, everyone.
Yeah.
So
this is people calling Rob. Yeah.
So that threw me off. Hold on a second.
We're talking about the origin of the universe.
I got you. The meaning of life?
42. The answer is 42.
That's right. Okay. Acquisitions. All right. So you're using basically your reviewers as the gateway.
Who knows better about films?
The horror movies, of course.
Yeah.
Those guys. And then once they get past that, you get to the next level.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that nobody knows better the audience of Dread Central than the people that write on Dread Central.
It's a very interesting model that you have going on. I haven't heard of many other companies that at least in my...
Well, after this interview,
everyone's going to be buying all of these and competing with you.
That's fine.
They'll be buying Fangoria and all the other competitors.
Well, actually, Fangoria did have a label that they were launching.
I remember that.
And again, for me, and yes, I'm producing movies and everything, but I really come from, for me, it's all, I think we spoke about last time, that for me, it's all about creating jobs. And for me, it's all about creating value, creating, things that people can enjoy, and when you do that, then you can take a slice for it for yourself, in opposed to, kind of coming in the middle or, something like that. And I think the business model that some of the other label had, they're missing some of the pieces. The fact is that I could fairly easily take Dread Central and say, hey, you receive movies to review, which one you like. Just pass it to Epic, which already knows how to buy movies, have the legal, have, the vendor relationship and can put it on in demand and iTunes and Ubiquity and AT&T and I don't know, all of those accounts. It was a very relatively very smooth transition and marriage between the two. I think that a lot of those companies, if they need to start on their own and learn how to do distribution or learn how to be a publisher or learn how to do this or go to somebody else and pay them 25% in the middle, then the whole thing's fall apart.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Now, with social media, do you use social media marketing like Facebook ads or anything like that?
We do social media. We actually just hired a new social media manager. We used to, in the past, both do our own and also hire companies, outside companies to handle social media. I personally don't believe too much with outsourcing social media because for me, it's something that need to be in-house because social media is about the voice of the organization.
Right.
And unless you're a part of that fabric, how can you do that?
Right.
And the voice of the organization is everybody that work in the organization. It's the fans, it's the vendors, it's the clients,
right.
So it's not what, I say or Patrick Ewald, my business partner, it's not like, okay, well, this is our voice. It's not. It's our past employees. It's our current employees. It's all of it together in like a big pot. That's really the voice of our company or any company, I believe.
Sure.
If you want to do it authentic, of course you can come in and say, we are the fun company, or we are the this company, or we are. And I think that it's create conflicts both internally and also it's very obvious to the outside.
So, can you please explain to filmmakers how important audience building is? Because you're doing it obviously on a much grander scale than an independent film by himself or an independent filmmaker by himself.
Yeah.
But can you explain this whole process?
It's not. You just make a movie, put it out there,
and it just
magically everybody. Well, I think, and again, what's for me was one of the things that was exciting about this partnership with Dread Central is being, for example, at we have a booth, right? I mean, they have a booth now. We have a booth in Comic-Con, right? And in Scare LA, and in Midsummer Screen, and and I, I mean, you know me for a couple of years. It's like I, put a Dread Central T-shirt, I go down to the ground, and I stand there in the booth for 10 hours, and shake the hands, and kiss the babies, and and it's really excited to actually meet the fans, and the fans really, I mean, it's pretty incredible how much love they give you on one hand, and also feedback. I mean, they will tell you.
They will tell you straight up.
They will tell you, and that's great because if we don't do what we do for them, then what is the point?
Correct.
And I think that I know that like making money, it's somehow have like a bad word, like sales. Like all those things had bad words. It's like most sales agents, they call themselves a distributor, because sales agents kind of sounds cheap,
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with it. If your movie is making money, it means that people saw value and wanted to, show it back to you and were willing to, spend their time, if it's, on Netflix or something like that, or spend their money if it's in theaters or transactional VOD. So there is nothing wrong with it. And I don't think I answered your question. To build an audience, the audience really find you and you kind of build it from that. You have a mailing list. People need to sign up for the mailing list.
You have to provide some sort of content that they're going to be interested in.
Exactly. And you can buy email list, but then after 2 emails you send to those emails, they're all going to unsubscribe. So what did you do there? And actually, you made it bad for everybody else because we all know the more spam we all get, the more that,
less like
us that we actually have the right message, which is actually a really good lesson to filmmakers as well. It's like, don't just spam people with your script or your project.
No, well, we could talk about hours about how to properly present yourself.
So
as a
the same way
that
that I feel confident, using, sending an email to our, tens of thousands of people on our email list, because I know that everybody there is somebody who came to Dread Central or came to, the website of TurboKid or Biggest Bite or something like that, and wanted to put their email there and wants to hear about those things. And then when you're selling to the right person, the right product, what he expects and what they want for the price and the channel they want, then you keep them happy and then they will keep you happy back.
It's a win-win situation without question. So since last we talked, I'm going to ask you a few of the same questions. I want to see if they change a little bit. The best advice you can
Still
give.
Single, yeah.
Still single. How, sir? I have no idea.
I told you I'm not interesting. I see you as a friend,
What advice would you give a filmmaker just starting out in the business?
Starting where?
In today's world.
So starting
I want to be a director.
High school, looking at film schools, or finish AFI or something?
Either I've never gone to film school and I'm going to jump into the business somehow, or I just finished film school and I'm going to jump into the business somehow.
Okay. I want to be director, writer?
Director. Let's say director.
I would say my answer for this probably haven't changed in years. It's first go out and get some life experience, because if you're a writer, an actor, a director, you have to create from something, and unless your heart has been broken, you've been in a shit job, or you've been in an amazing experience, where would you bring those things into the page, into the screen? And what you find a lot when you're on our side, that you get a lot of scripts or a lot of the things, it's basically, I'm sure you had the same experience. You can read the scripts like, so this is the scene from Terminator, the scene from, Die Hard, 3 scenes from this, is because, if you're 18 or 20 or whatever, and, all you've seen is going to high school, going to university, and seeing other people's movies, reading other people's books, seeing TV.
Which
That's
is what-
all you have to draw from.
Right. It is valuable to
Yeah.
have all that, but you definitely have to build that well up.
You have to build. And when you look at it, most of the more successful films, they're all book adaptations. They're all comic book adaptations. They all come from, people that probably spend more time working on that base,
Concepts.
property.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Because nobody goes, and like thinks that they're going to write a novel, or maybe they are. But, I at least I want to believe, that the novel, by the time it's published, it takes years, it's, and people work on these things for like 3 or 4 years, and not, sitting in Starbucks, half an hour a day and reading it. And you can tell, when you get the script and you read it, you can tell that it didn't have the tens of thousands of hours that would have got into, something that would make something really, really special.
Now,
And sometimes there's a fluke. That's fine too,
there are the lottery tickets.
Yeah, there is some geniuses that, they're 14, whatever, they write something and it's genius. And, but
So
for us, it's so much harder to even find it because we get hundreds of scripts. So, even one of them, there is some savant, that is like, just like knocked his head against the wall and somehow, the script's coming to him.
And Shawshank
or her.
Redemption.
Yeah, it's how are you even going to recognize it, between these stacks of scripts?
Now, what are 3 of your favorite horror films of
All time.
Of all time, top 3.
And they cannot be, I assume.
No,
I'm joking.
no epic allowed.
No epic love. Well, one of them, and not because I wasn't friends at the time with the filmmaker, but my business partner Patrick Ewald and myself, we saw Paranormal Activity right here in Sundance when it was. Felt like it was, probably 10 years ago or 11 years ago. At the time, must have been 10 years ago. At the time, company was very, very small. I believe it was just us, 2 people. And I believe it was the biggest offer we made for a film at the time. And we knew that it was completely no budget.
And you made an offer on Paranormal.
Oh, yeah. And we're so out of the competition. But we really
you went out.
We were willing to bet
the farm on
the house,
and you would have won on that.
Everything.
Bet.
And we would have won.
You would have won on that.
But the reason we did it is because we were watching it at Sundance, and they have like this very intimate kind of room, and people sit like on the floor.
Oh no, it's
and maybe
the screens from the screen to the
yeah. And when that clock was ticking, and it's like everybody's just like leaning forward and just quiet. If you hear anything, it's just like the scratches of the fingernails, and then nothing happens, right? But that movie really stayed with us for, I believe it was 2 or 3 days after that screening. And then we contacted the lawyer that was repping it. And he was kind enough. Now I know, because now I'm friends with the creator, so now I know more behind the story. But so knowing what I know now, I guess the lawyer was nice enough to entertain us.
He just talked to you.
Talk to us.
Just even pick up the call.
Because we were very far from the race, I guess, at that point. But so that's one. The other one, I believe also from here, was the Babadook.
Okay.
If I want to look at like recent ones. And then I'm going to go with... See, the thing is that I grew up in Israel. In Israel, they don't have independent horror movies.
Sure. It could be a big
independent, so for us, horror movies was Jaws.
Sure.
It was Alien, and it was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
Which I believe it was just called Freddy Krueger, or something like that.
Right.
So, obviously you're a Alien fan, you're a Jaws fan. I'm always been a fan of the vampire movies.
Okay. What's your favorite vampire movie?
Dracula.
Which one? Francis Ford Coppola?
Yes.
I love that movie.
It was just Dracula in red. I actually owned that one on Laserdisc.
I still own it on Laserdisc.
And I
Criterion?
remember
Criterion?
getting up and flipping the
on Criterion?
I would not do
Ah.
it was
I have to geek out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Shaked, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
That's it? That's all the questions?
That's it.
Okay.
That's
Can I
it.
ask you questions now?
Yes, go ahead. So go ahead.
I think you told me that you want to, have it off the record. So I respect that request.
Thanks again, my friend.
Shaked is in the trenches every day trying to get his movies made, seen, purchased, enjoyed, and all doing it independently. So thank you so much for putting up the good fight, Shaked, and for coming on the show and dropping some major knowledge bombs for the Indie Film Hustle Tribe. I hope you guys got something out of that interview. If you want links to anything we talked about in this episode, just head over to indiefilmhustle.com/221, where you can get Shaked's information there, links to the website and contact info. Thanks for listening, guys. And as always, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.